Good morning and welcome. My name is Hailing Price, and I serve as our Managing Director of External Engagement here at the Harlem Children's Zone. I also have the distinct honor of helping lead the William Julius Wilson Institute, our national hub for place-based, people-focused solutions that open pathways to social and economic mobility. Building on a generation of evidence here at HCZ, the Institute is working closely with on-the-ground partners and national collaborators to drive systems change and neighborhood outcomes across the country. In this process, I've had the great pleasure of partnering with a personal hero of mine, a man who needs no introduction, Mr. Geoffrey Canada. Jeff founded the Harlem Children's Zone with a bold vision. That was to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty here in Harlem and to inspire other communities to do the same. In the process, he has developed what the New York Times has called one of the most ambitious social policy experiments of our time. This experiment has inspired federal policy and practitioners around the world. Many of those practitioners are here with us today, and we're looking forward to hearing from you soon. Now, Jeff may be nationally influential and world-renowned, but here in Harlem, many of us have the pleasure of calling him a thought partner, a mentor, and a co-conspirator in this work that all of us have committed to. So it's with great personal pleasure and pride that I invite you to join me in welcoming our leader, Mr. Geoffrey Canada.
Good morning. I am so excited to be here. Thank you, Hailing, for that wonderful introduction. And I have to tell you that when Stan Druckenmiller and I decided we were going to create the Harlem Children's Zone 20 years ago, I dreamed one day that we would see efforts around this country, cradle to career, focused on saving the poorest children and families in America. And I hope this country would finally decide that we're going to end generational poverty. We're going to go to the toughest places in this country, and we're going to make sure those children get to have a chance for the American dream. Today is our national conference, and I am telling you that we have an all-star group of folks who have built this field from one end of America to the other. You're in for quite a day today. And here at the William Julius Wilson Institute, we're excited to launch this effort to try to save American children and families. Now, this saving America is not hyperbole. Right now, we have our conference happening sandwiched between two huge momentous moments in this country. Yesterday, we celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. And oh, do we need Dr. King's vision in this country right now? A person who said that we've got to change America so that we're not looking at the color of a person's skin and making determinations about whether or not they have value, they have worth. Dr. King set in motion a day of service every year, and this country needs to serve because we have some real work to do. Now, tomorrow, we have an inauguration of Vice President, soon to be President, Joe Biden, and the first African-American Vice President in this country. Something that a person like me thought that I would never see in my life. A woman who is both African-American and Asian, leading the #2 position in America. So this is really a momentous moment, but our country has to face some hard truths. And I think finally in this country, after all we've been through, after the movement around George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, as we have watched this country come to grapple with a racial reckoning, we can finally begin to tell the truth about why we face such challenges in America. Well, we can start at the beginning, right from the Founding Fathers' statement. You look at the Declaration of Independence. Everybody knows these words. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This country didn't tell the truth about its relationship to the poor, to the minorities, to the enslaved, right from the very beginning. You know, when I was in middle school in the South Bronx, as that community was crumbling around me, I remember going to my history class and our teacher being so happy about the Declaration of Independence, and he read that section to us. And I asked him, did they mean people like me? And he said, no, yes, they did, Jeff. Yes, they meant people like you and the rest of your classmates. We were all black and brown, boys and girls in that class. And he lied to us. From the very beginning, people in this country have been fighting to try and make those words ring true. If they meant that, we would have never had a civil war. If they meant those words, we would have never had a trail of tears as Native Americans were forced from their lands and died walking across the country. If they meant that, we would have never had the Ku Klux Klan, the reign of terror for Black Americans. We would have never had Jim Crow, where they actually legalized apartheid in this country. If we were ready to live up to those founding principles, we would not have needed a women's suffrage movement. And indeed, today, when you look at our country and you look at what we've been through, you see that we are still fighting that same battle. Are we going to guarantee equality for all people? And you wouldn't hear people in the highest places in office in our government telling groups like the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys to stand by. We know what that means. We know the signals that sends out as we struggle with the original sin of this country. So this is a moment in our history that we can begin to tell the truth. We can begin to say, those of us who believe in equity, who believe all of those founding principles, we've got to stand up. And here at the William Julius Wilson Institute, we're trying to start a new movement in this country, a movement where men and women of all colors, all races, of all nationalities decide we're going to make sure children can grow up believing that they have an equal chance to be successful in this country. So I ask you today to join me. You know, Stan and I now recognize there are great examples of cradle to career work going on around this country. You're going to hear about those places. And there's a group of us right now who are part of this conference who have decided that we're going to focus on equity. We're going to focus on the poor. We're going to make sure no matter what region you live in, whether you're African-American living in the inner city or you're a rural white person from rural Kentucky, that we're going to make sure you have a chance, a real opportunity in this country. And when we say that you can pursue life, liberty, that we mean that for everybody. Our conference is calling us to learn how to better serve so we can save this country. And this is a moment, America, where we have to double down on all that we have learned so that we can focus on children and families who need us. You know what? I never thought I would see 400,000 Americans die in a year. Most who didn't have to die, most who are Black and brown folks, that women, and particularly women of color, have lost their jobs at record numbers, that people don't know how they're going to pay the rent. And who is standing between these poor communities and utter calamity? Well, you are. You are. Those of you, I saw you signing up from all over the country. You're the ones who are going to have to keep the American dream alive. So I ask you to join me because, you know, There are a bunch of boys and girls around this country. They're going to be back in school, and they're going to put their hands over their hearts when they say that Pledge of Allegiance. And they're going to say, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And you know what? It's time for us to make sure we can have liberty and justice for all the children and families in this country. So we've got a conference. I'm going to tell you, you don't want to miss it. You're going to stand with us as we change America. All right, so let's get to the conference. Thank you very much.